Welcome back to the deep dive. It is Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. And I gotta say, looking around at the world today, we're living in some pretty interesting times.
We certainly are. There's a lot of talk these days about this age of abundance that was prophesied in scriptures thousands of years ago. And in a lot of ways, we're actually seeing it unfold right now.
Yeah, we really
We're
are.
seeing these massive exponential leaps in technology, in energy, and just potential human capacity. It feels like every week there's a new headline that completely redefines what is possible for us.
Exactly. I mean, just look at the last 6 months alone. We have artificial intelligence discovering new drugs in record time, it's condensing decades of messy biological research into just weeks of computation.
Right.
We have cars that drive themselves better than most teenagers.
Yeah.
And definitely better than I do when I'm trying to parallel park on a busy street.
I've seen you park, so I can agree with that.
Hey now. But seriously, we have large language models writing complex software code in seconds that used to take teams of engineers weeks to build. We are living in the future. We have fusion energy milestones and personalized medicine. It's a buffet of innovation.
Mm-hmm.
But there is always a beat. But isn't there?
There's always a contradiction. Progress is never a straight line, and it is certainly never evenly distributed in Rana. We have these pockets of the 22nd century living right next to remnants of the 20th century.
Right, the contradiction. Because for all this futuristic abundance, for all this sleek, high-speed progress, there's one corner of our lives that feels like it is stuck in the Stone Age. Or, I guess more accurately, stuck in a very specific beige-colored fluorescent-lit office park in 1998.
I think I know exactly where you're going with this.
You know exactly where I'm going. I'm talking about the absolute soul-crushing nightmare that is the customer support phone tree.
Ah, yes, the digital purgatory.
Exactly.
The maze with no cheese at the end. The place where patience just goes to die.
Digital purgatory. That is the perfect way to describe it. You have a problem. You pick up the phone, and what happens? You are not greeted by an intelligent agent. You're not greeted by a solution. You are greeted by a robotic voice, usually one that sounds slightly condescending, telling you to press 1 for billing.
And press 2 for technical support. And my personal favorite, press 3 to hear these options again, which usually takes another 45 seconds to cycle through while you just stare at the ceiling.
And 10 minutes later, you're 6 layers deep. You've entered your date of birth twice, once with the keypad and once by voice. And of course, it got it wrong both times because you coughed or a car drove by.
Right. Or you just breathed too heavily into the receiver.
Yeah. And you have shouted representative at the phone 5 times, frightening your dog. And you are still listening to that looping hold music. You know, the one that distorted smooth jazz that sounds like it was recorded underwater on a cassette tape?
A cassette tape that's been left in the sun for a week.
Exactly. It's absurd. We have AI that can pass the bar exam, but we still have to navigate a number pad maze just to ask why our internet bill went up.
It's a profound irony. And that massive gap between the AI capabilities we hear about in the news and the mundane, frustrating reality of calling a utility company is exactly what we are unpacking today. We have reusable rockets landing on ships, but we can't get a refund for a $10 charge without sacrificing an hour of our lives. It's a glitch in the simulation.
It really is. And today, for you listening, we are diving into a fascinating piece of writing from the Netizen blog. Specifically, a post by Paramendra simply titled VoiceDirect AI. The subtitle is The End of Press 1. This was published just today, February 24th, 2026, and it outlines a technology that claims to be an architectural correction to this whole mess.
That phrase really stood out to me, architectural correction. It implies that the way we have been doing things isn't just inefficient, it's structurally wrong.
Yeah.
It's not about painting the house, it's about realizing the foundation is cracked. The source material here is proposing this VoiceDirect AI, which is a voice-first platform designed to eliminate the phone tree entirely.
Eliminate it. Not improve it, eliminate it.
Yeah.
That is the mission we're looking at here. We aren't talking about a slightly better chatbot. We are talking about a system where you call, you speak, and it handles it. It's a complete reimagining of the interface between companies and customers.
Precisely. The premise is to replace the press 1 logic with natural intelligent conversation. It's about taking that abundance of intelligence we see elsewhere and finally applying it to the thing that drives us all crazy, applying the age of abundance to the age of annoyance.
I love that. Okay, let's unpack this. Because I think to really appreciate the solution, we have to fully understand the problem. And the source material calls the current state of things the $100 billion frustration machine.
It's a staggering figure. The $100 billion frustration machine, it sounds like a bad sci-fi movie villain. But when you look at the history interactive voice response systems, or IVR as they're known in the industry, they were actually revolutionary when they came out in the 1980s.
Sure. Back when everyone had landlines, and the alternative was a busy signal or a receptionist writing messages on pink slips of paper, it was high-tech at the time.
Right. It was an attempt to scale. Before IVR, you had switchboards. If the switchboard was full, you got a busy signal. IVR allowed companies to handle thousands of calls by routing them automatically. Ideally, they were supposed to route calls efficiently. But over time, they've become these relics.
Relics that actively hurt the company.
Exactly. The source describes them as brand erosion machines. Think about that for a second. Companies spend millions on marketing to get you to love them. They buy Super Bowl ads, they run social media campaigns, they design beautiful logos, they craft their brand voice carefully. And then the moment you actually need to talk to them, the moment the rubber meets the road, they force you into an IVR system that makes you hate them.
It's totally self-sabotage. It's like inviting someone to a fancy dinner, rolling out the red carpet, and then making them wash the dishes before they can even eat. The source breaks down the failure of IVR into 3 specific systemic failures. And I want to go through these in detail because I think every single person listening is going to nod their head in recognition. The first one is cognitive friction.
This is a great term from the source. Cognitive friction refers to the mental load we place on the customer. When you call a bank, you have a real-world problem. Maybe your card got declined at a restaurant, which is super embarrassing. Or you see a weird charge from a state you've never visited. That is your reality.
Yeah.
But the IVR forces you to translate that reality into their rigid menu structure. You have to sit there and think, okay, is the declined card a billing issue? Or is it an account services issue? Or is it fraud prevention or technical support?
And half the time, it doesn't fit neatly into any of them. So you just guess. You stand there hovering your finger over the 2 key, sweating, thinking if I press this and it's wrong, I'm going to have to hang up and start over. It's stressful. You are doing mental gymnastics just to ask a simple question.
That is the friction. You are doing the work for the system rather than the system doing the work for you. You're acting as the router. You're the switchboard operator, but you don't know the internal codes. It forces the customer to understand the company's organizational chart just to get help.
Which is ridiculous. Then there is the second failure, which is time waste. And this isn't just, oh, I'm bored. This is measurable life lost.
This one is quantifiable, the audio maze. Navigating 6 layers of prompts, verifying your identity multiple times. It wastes the customer's time, obviously. But the source points out it also increases operational costs for the company.
Because they're paying for the phone timer.
Right. Exactly. Longer calls, even automated ones, cost money. Telephony costs are real. Every minute you spend listening to a menu is a minute the telecom provider charges the company. And crucially, it drives up customer churn. People cancel services because the support experience is just too painful.
I have definitely considered switching internet providers solely because I didn't want to call the current one.
Yeah.
I've let subscriptions run for an extra month just to avoid the cancellation line gauntlet.
Yeah.
It's a barrier to exit, but it's also a massive barrier to loyalty. And then the third failure, which I think is the most infuriating of all, is context loss.
This is the classic scenario. You finally navigate the maze, you verify your ID, you press the buttons, you wait on hold for 15 minutes listening to that awful music, you finally get a human being on the line, you are so relieved. And what is the first thing they ask you?
Can I have your account number and the reason for your call?
Exactly. You just want to scream, I just typed that in. I just told the machine, why did I spend 10 minutes punching numbers if you don't have them? You have to repeat the entire story from scratch. The system collected data from you. It made you do the work, but it didn't pass it along effectively. It is a broken chain.
It makes you feel like you aren't a person. You're just a ticket number. It signals that the company's internal departments aren't talking to each other. If the machine can't talk to the human, why should I trust the company to handle my money or my data? The source mentions that industries like banking, telecom utilities, insurance, e-commerce, these are the big offenders.
Yes.
They process millions of calls.
Tens of millions. A single large telecom operator can receive tens of millions of calls annually. That is a massive volume of human frustration.
And they're spending billions on staffing, yet their customer satisfaction scores are often declining precisely because of this support experience. It's a lose-lose. They're paying a fortune to make their customers unhappy. It defies all business logic.
It really is a paradox. In a world where convenience defines loyalty, Think about how easy it is to order a car or buy a book with one click. These phone trees are actively destroying the brand value these companies are trying to build. We've been conditioned to expect seamlessness. IVR is the opposite of seamless. It is pure friction. It's sand in the gears of modern life.
So enter VoiceDirect AI. The source describes this as zero-menu voice intelligence. Let's dive into what that actually means. Because we've heard promises about better support before. We've heard our menu options have changed for 20 years. What makes this different?
The key differentiator here is that it is voice first. A lot of the AI tools we've seen recently are text-based chatbots that have just been given a synthetic voice. They're retrofitted. They take a text script, run it through a text-to-speech engine, and just read it out loud. They still think in text.
Or they're just reading a screen, basically.
Exactly. VoiceDirect is built from the ground up for spoken conversation. The user experience is radically simple. No menus, no press one, no labyrinth.
You just call and talk.
You just speak. The source gives some great examples of natural input. You might say, my internet is down, or I need to dispute a $45 charge, or why is my insurance premium higher this month? You speak exactly how you would speak to a human receptionist who picked up the phone.
And it understands that, even if I'm frustrated, even if I don't use the specific technical term. Say I have a cold and I'm sounding a bit congested.
It listens. It understands the intent using advanced automatic speech recognition, ASR, and natural language processing. It retrieves the data and it responds. And this is crucial. It responds in natural speech. It understands nuance and context.
The source mentions it uses high-fidelity voice synthesis, similar to technology from companies like 11 Labs.
Right. So it doesn't sound like a robot splicing words together. You know that old GPS voice, turn left at Main Street. It's not that. It has intonation. It has empathy. It pauses where a human would pause. It can sound concerned if you're reporting an emergency. It feels like a capable assistant, not a machine. It can even be customized to reflect a brand's personality. Maybe a bank wants to sound professional and secure, while a gaming company wants to sound energetic and helpful.
Yeah, that is a huge shift. But I want to get into the nuts and bolts of how this actually resolves a problem. Because understanding me is one thing, listening to me vent is nice, but fixing my problem is another. I can vent to my dog, and he understands I'm upset, but he can't fix my router.
True.
The source breaks down the anatomy of a resolution. Let's walk through that internet is down scenario in detail because I think we've all been there.
Okay, let's look at that. Step one is the interaction. You call. Instead of a menu, you hear, hi, how can I help you today? Simple. Open-ended. You say, my internet is down.
Simple enough. What happens in the background? Because this is where the magic has to happen. It can't just be a recording saying we'll look into it.
This is where the intelligent resolution engine kicks in. This is the brain of the operation. It isn't just looking at a script of things to say. It is integrated directly into the company's back-end system, Salesforce, Zendesk billing databases, and in this case, the outage monitoring APIs. It's essentially an octopus with tentacles reaching into every database the company has.
So it's actually checking the network status in real time.
Immediately. It initiates a sequence of checks much faster than a human agent could click through tabs. First, it checks the regional outage maps for that user's specific address. Is there a known issue in the neighborhood? Is a line down the street?
Okay.
If there isn't a regional outage, it moves to the next step logic. It connects to the user's specific modem to test connectivity. It pings the device directly.
Wow. So it's diagnosing hardware.
If it finds a fault, maybe the modem is frozen, it can execute remote reset protocols. It sends the command to reboot the modem or flush the DNS settings.
Without a human ever touching a keyboard.
Correct. And then it verifies if the service is restored. It watches the line come back up.
And all of this is happening while I'm on the phone.
In milliseconds. Or seconds at most. And then it delivers the verdict. The source gives a scripted result for an outage scenario. It says there's a temporary outage in your area. Service should be restored within 18 minutes. I'll text you updates.
Service should be restored within 18 minutes. That level of specificity is incredible. Usually you get sometime between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. or just we are aware of an issue.
That specificity builds trust. It says we know exactly what is wrong and we know exactly when it will be fixed. It respects your anxiety. Or take the other scenario where it fixes it remotely. It says, I've remotely reset your modem. It should be back online in 2 minutes.
That is just, it's a dream. And notice what didn't happen there. You didn't have to verify your account number 3 times. You didn't have to listen to a list of options. You stated the problem and the system accessed the tools to solve it. The target resolution rate mentioned in the source is over 80% without human intervention.
80%. That is massive. That means only 2 out of 10 calls would even need to go to a person. Think about the volume reduction for the call center. If you have 10 million calls, you just saved 8 million human interactions.
And think about the sanity preservation for the caller.
Yeah.
That's 8 million hours of frustration completely erased.
Exactly. And that is achieved through what they call the no prompts rule.
I love this rule. Tell us about that.
Traditional IVR forces customers into predefined categories. You have to fit into box A, box B, or box C. VoiceDirect relies on fine-tuned large language models capable of zero-shot inference.
Zero-shot inference. That sounds technical. Let's break that down for the listener. What does that actually mean in practice?
It means the AI can understand phrases and intents it hasn't been explicitly trained on. In the old days, you had to program a system to recognize specific keywords. If the customer said billing, go to billing. If they said invoice, maybe go to billing. But if they said, how much do I owe, the system might just crash and say, I didn't understand that.
Right. It just loops back to the start.
Zero-shot inference means the model understands the concept of debt or payment regardless of the words used. It uses context.
So if I say, my box isn't blinking right, instead of my modem is offline, it gets it.
It figures it out. It knows box likely refers to the modem in the context of an internet provider call, and blinking refers to the status lights. It makes a logical leap just like a human brain does. And if it is unsure, it asks for clarification naturally.
How so?
It doesn't say input invalid. It says, which device are you referring to? The black tower or the white square? Or is this regarding your personal or business account? It flows like a conversation. It never regresses to menu logic. It never says press 1.
That dynamic clarification is key. It feels like talking to a competent person who is genuinely trying to understand you rather than a machine waiting for a keyword. But okay, let's play devil's advocate here for a second, because not everything is as simple as reset the modem. Life is messy.
It certainly is.
What about the 20%? Right about the really complex stuff, like my bill is wrong because of a weird proration error that happened when I moved houses, and I'm also trying to upgrade my service at the same time, and I'm practically crying because I'm so stressed out. Can it handle that level of chaos?
That brings us to section 4 of the piece, which is the human element. The system is designed to know its limits. It is not arrogant. For complex or sensitive issues, which they estimate to be under 20% of calls, the system escalates instantly to a human agent.
Okay, so humans are still there. We aren't firing everyone and leaving people to the mercy of the machines.
Humans are absolutely still there. In fact, their role becomes more important. But here is the major difference. When the transfer happens, it is a warm handoff.
Describe a warm handoff. How is it different from the cold transfer I get right now?
Currently, a transfer is just a rerouting of the line. The new person picks up blindly. They might see your phone number on their screen, but that's about it. With VoiceDirect, before the agent even says hello, they have received a comprehensive data package.
What's in the package?
They have the full transcript of what you just said to the AI. They have a structured summary of the issue. They have your extracted sentiment analysis, so they know if you are angry, sad, or confused. And they have the relevant account data automatically opened on their screen, navigated to the exact page needed.
So they don't ask me to repeat myself.
No. They pick up and say, hi there. I see you're having an issue with that proration from your move to the new address, and I can see the AI already checked the billing cycle. I am so sorry about that stress. Let me dive into that specific charge for you right now.
That is dignified. That feels respectful of my time. It validates that the last 2 minutes I spent talking to the AI weren't just wasted breath. It feels like the company is one cohesive unit instead of a bunch of disconnected silos.
The philosophy here is that AI doesn't replace humans, it removes the queue. It takes away the repetitive work resetting passwords, checking balances, confirming outages, and leaves the humans to handle the complex, emotional, high-value interactions.
Which is frankly what humans are better at anyway. I don't want to talk to a human to reset my passwords. That's a waste of their time and mine. It's boring for them and it's slow for me. But for a complex billing dispute, I want a human with empathy and judgment.
Exactly. It upskills the role of the support agent. They become problem solvers, not just script readers. They become customer success managers rather than ticket closers. It actually makes the job of being a support agent much more interesting and far less repetitive.
I want to look under the hood a bit more. We touched on the integrations, but the source details the technical architecture pretty heavily. There are 4 distinct layers mentioned.
Right. It's a very robust stack. It's not just a simple app wrapper. Layer 1 is the AI core. This isn't just one monolithic model. It's using fine-tuned open source and enterprise-grade models optimized specifically for low-latency inference. They mention infrastructure frameworks from ecosystems like Hugging Face for efficient model deployment.
So they are leveraging the best of the OpenAI community to build this core.
Yes. They are picking the absolute best brains in the AI world and customizing them specifically for voice
And
interactions.
layer two is the real-time integrations we discussed, right? The APIs that let it actually do things.
This is critical. Without layer 2, it's just a chatbot. It's just a therapist who can't prescribe medicine. With layer 2, it becomes an agent. It connects to the CRM, the billing database, the outage monitor. It turns talk into action. It essentially gives the AI hands.
Layer three is crucial for the industries they are targeting too, which is security and compliance.
End-to-end encryption. Compliance ready for GDPR, IPA, and strict financial regulations. If you are a bank or a healthcare provider, you cannot just plug in a generic public chatbot.
Because of data privacy.
Exactly. You can't send customer financial data to a public model where it might be used for training. This thing has to be locked down. It needs to be enterprise-grade secure. It needs to be a vault.
And then layer four is scalability.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a specific metric here that really caught my eye in the piece. They're targeting a latency of under 500 milliseconds.
Yes. Half a second.
Why is that speed so critical? Why not 1 second? Why does half a second matter so much?
Because, as the source puts it very elegantly in voice interaction, delay equals distrust.
Delay equals distrust. That is a powerful statement.
Think about when you are talking to someone on a cell phone and there is a lag on the line. Even a 1-second delay makes the conversation awkward. You start talking over each other. You say hello, and then they say hello at the exact same time.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Yeah.
You do that little dance of, sorry, go ahead.
Right. It feels unnatural. It breaks the flow. If you say hello to an AI and it waits 2 full seconds to respond, the illusion breaks immediately. You feel like you are talking to a machine. You lose patience. To feel like a capable assistant, it has to snap back instantly. It has to feel like a volley in tennis.
So it's not just about being smart, it's about being fast. The feeling of intelligence is directly tied to the speed of the response.
Absolutely. Speed is a feature of intelligence in conversation. If I ask you a simple question like, what is your name? And you pause for 5 seconds, I assume you don't know the answer, you are lying, or you just aren't listening to me.
That is a great point. And achieving that speed requires some serious tech.
It requires cloud-native infrastructure, AWS-class environments, and edge deployment. Edge deployment ensures the processing happens physically close to the user to minimize the travel time for the data packets.
That makes sense. Let's shift gears and talk money. Because ultimately, companies aren't going to buy this just to be nice to us. They aren't charities. They need a solid business case.
Yeah.
How does VoiceDirect make money, and why would a massive telecom company sign up for this?
The model is a classic B2B SaaS software as a service. They have a per-resolution pricing model, which sits somewhere between 50 cents and $2 per resolved call, depending on the complexity of the issue.
Okay, 50 cents to $2. How does that compare to a human agent?
Well, industry estimates for a human-handled support call often range from $5 to $15 or more, depending on the location and the training of the agent. Some specialized support calls can cost companies upwards of $20 per incident. If you have to escalate to a Tier 2 engineer, it can easily be $50.
So we're talking about a massive reduction here, like 90% cheaper in some cases.
Huge. If a telecom operator gets tens of millions of calls a year and they can move 50% of those to the AI at a fraction of the cost, you're looking at tens of millions of dollars in savings instantly. Go straight to the bottom line. It's the kind of math that makes a CFO sit up and pay attention immediately.
The source also mentions an enterprise subscription tier for high-volume clients sitting around $10,000 plus per month, but there's an interesting upsell here that goes way beyond just saving money on headcount. Sentiment heat maps.
This is where it gets really interesting strategically. Right now, support is entirely reactive. You call with a problem, they fix it. The data usually just dies in the call log. Maybe someone categorizes it broadly as billing, but the nuance is lost.
Yeah.
But because VoiceDirect is analyzing every single conversation, every word, every tone of voice, every pause, it can generate macro data on how customers feel.
Give me an example of how a company would actually use that.
The source gives a great one.
Yeah.
Imagine the system flags a trend. Top issue this week is billing errors after plan upgrades. And not only does it flag the error, but it flags that customers are specifically angry about this, more so than other typical issues.
It can detect the anger.
Yes. It detects elevated pitch-aggressive language frustration markers. It creates a sentiment heat map of the entire customer base in real time.
So the company can see, oh, wow, we really messed up that rollout.
Exactly. They can go straight to the product team or the marketing team and say, stop selling the upgrade until we fix the billing trigger because it is destroying our net promoter scores. We can physically hear the anger in the customers' voices. Support moves from just fixing broken things to actually informing high-level business strategy. It becomes a radar for brand health.
That completely transforms the support center. It goes from a cost center, something you just want to minimize and hide away, into an intelligence center.
Precisely. And that is a very easy sell to a CEO. You are offering them massive cost savings and invaluable strategic insight at the same time. You are giving them the unfiltered voice of the customer at scale.
So who is a target market here? You mentioned telecom.
Telecom, banks, insurance, utilities. These are the high-volume, high-frustration industries. They have very complex products, they have millions of users, and they have enormous staffing costs. They are the perfect storm for this technology. They are the ones currently drowning in calls.
I cannot wait for my utility company to get this. Please, I dread calling them. I have to budget emotional energy just to dial their number.
It creates a real competitive urgency, too. If one bank offers instant voice-based resolution and the other makes you wait 20 minutes on hold listening to bad jazz, people will switch. In a commoditized market like banking or internet service, customer service is often the only real differentiator.
That perfectly leads us to the go-to-market strategy. The source outlines a plan starting in 2026. Phase 1 is a pilot cohort.
Right. 5 to 10 mid-sized companies to prove the model. The pitch is bold, too. The anti-phone tree revolution.
I would buy that t-shirt right now. Join the revolution.
It's a good slogan. It taps into that shared visceral hatred we all have. And the demo strategy is really smart. They want to do side-by-side comparisons.
Like a taste test.
Exactly.
Yep.
Here is a 2-hour hold time with your current system. Listen to this misery. Listen to the hold music loop. Now here is a 30-second resolution with VoiceDirect.
It's undeniable when you hear it like that. And they mention live outage simulations too.
Yes. Prove it works when the pressure is actually on. Simulate a massive spike in calls, like when a storm knocks out power to a whole city, and show how the AI scales instantly to handle it while the human call center collapses, or hold times skyrocket to 4 hours.
What about marketing channels? How do they plan to get the word out to the people buying this?
LinkedIn, thought leadership, tech, and ops podcasts, maybe even deep dives like this one and major industry conferences, they are targeting the real decision makers. The COOs, the CTOs, the VPs of customer experience. They are going after the people who actually feel the pain of the budget and the bad reviews.
What about the competition, though? Because we see AI literally everywhere right now. Every software company claims they have an AI solution. Why is VoiceDirect different from the rest?
The source argues that most competitors are focused heavily on text chatbots, those little bubbles in the corner of a website that pop up and ask, how can I help you? And then completely fail to answer your basic question.
We've all closed those bubbles immediately.
Or they're just trying to make the Press 1 menu slightly smarter with directed dialogue, which is still very rigid. VoiceDirect is different because it is fully conversational, menu-free, and optimized entirely for voice only. It bets the farm on voice being the killer app for support.
And there's a crucial point made in the text here about urgency.
Yes. This is profound psychological insight. Chatbots are fine for low-stakes things. What is your return policy? Or what are your store hours? I can ask a chatbot that and wait a second. But when my money is missing from my checking account or my internet is down and I have a crucial Zoom meeting in 5 minutes, or my car just broke down on the side of a highway, I am not going to type into a tiny chat widget on my phone.
No, you want a voice. You want to hear someone. You want a real connection.
You want immediate reassurance. Voice is the channel of urgency. And as the source explicitly states, voice is where loyalty is won or lost. If you fail the customer in that moment of acute panic, you lose them forever. If you make them wait on hold while they are panicking, they will hate you. But if you answer immediately and fix it, they will love you for life.
That is so true. I have forgiven companies for a lot of mistakes, but being hung up on or stuck in an endless loop during an actual emergency, that is a deal breaker. It feels like they just don't care about you at all.
It feels deeply personal. It feels like abandonment.
It really does. Now let's look to the future a bit. The source outlines an expansion potential. Once they solve support, which, as we've discussed, is a huge, massive market all on its own, where does this technology go next?
The grand vision is to become a voice operating layer for all enterprises. So moving far beyond just something is broken, please fix it. Think about voice-based bookings. You could say, book me a flight to London next Tuesday, aisle seat vegetarian meal.
And it just handles the entire back end. It checks Expedia, it checks the airline, it books the ticket.
Exactly. Or smart home troubleshooting. My smart fridge isn't syncing with my phone. The AI talks you through the steps or just fixes it remotely. It becomes the primary interface for your entire house.
What about insurance claims intake? That's always a nightmare.
Perfect use case. I just got into a fender bender. Here's what happened. The AI takes your verbal statement, it logs the claim, it arranges the tow truck to your GPS location, and it emails you the confirmation number while you're standing on the side of the road.
Healthcare appointments, too.
I need to see a dermatologist. I have a rash. I'm free next Thursday afternoon. The AI checks the doctor's secure calendar, triages the urgency based on your description, and books the slot.
And a global rollout. Multilingual support seems like an absolute no-brainer for this.
Absolutely. This is the sheer beauty of LLMs. If the AI is trained on broad language models, it can switch from English to Spanish to Mandarin to Hindi instantly and flawlessly. It opens up massive markets in Europe, Asia, Latin America. A mid-sized company in the US can suddenly offer native-level voice support to a customer in Brazil without having to hire a massive Portuguese-speaking call center. It completely democratizes global support.
There is a deeper layer to all of this, though, beyond just the tech and the business strategy. The source talks at the very end about the psychological win.
This is honestly my favorite part of the entire analysis. The projected cost reduction of 50 to 70% is great for the CFO. The shareholders will certainly love it. But the real win, the profound win, is how the customer actually feels.
Dignity restoration. That's the phrase used in the strategy section.
Yes. Customers finally feel heard. Immediately. There is no feeling of being ignored or deprioritized by a machine. The source makes a really profound point here. It says, in a world accelerating toward automation, the companies that thrive will be those that make automation feel human.
That is the paradox again.
Yeah.
To make automation truly work, it has to stop feeling like a machine. It has to shed that rigid robotic skin.
It has to feel like genuine responsiveness, like care, like competence. It has to feel like the best butler or the most efficient executive assistant you've ever interacted with.
The source ends with this beautiful metaphor. It compares the traditional phone tree to a bureaucratic fossil.
Which honestly belongs in a museum right alongside the fax machine and the Rolodex and the carbon copy paper.
It compares VoiceDirect to a receptionist.
It's the difference between a locked door with complex instructions taped to it. That's the phone tree, right? Read this, follow these rules. Maybe the door will open if you knock 3 times. And a receptionist who simply opens the door, smiles, and asks, how can I help you?
Technology should not make us navigate systems. Systems should navigate themselves around us.
That is the core philosophy. For the last 30 or 40 years, we have been actively training humans to speak computer. Press 1, enter your code. Say yes or no. Use these specific keywords. We have been forcing humans to adapt to the limitations of the machine. Now, finally, the machine is capable enough to adapt to us. We are flipping the script completely.
It is an architectural correction, just like they said. It's fixing the foundational design flaw of the last digital age.
It is. It's putting the human back in the center of the interaction where they belong.
It really feels like we are on the cusp of getting hours of our lives back. No more hold music, no more, I didn't catch that, please repeat. Just resolution.
It is the end of press 1 and the beginning of tell me what's wrong.
And then it's fixed.
It's fixed.
I love that. So here is where it gets really interesting for you, the listener. We've talked deeply about phone trees today. They are the obvious target. They are the low-hanging fruit of bad bureaucratic design. But if we take this core concept that systems should navigate around us, not the other way around, what else is out there?
That is the big question. Once you see the world this way, you really can't unsee it.
If VoiceDirect is the bureaucratic fossil hunter for phone support, what other fossils are just waiting to be dismantled in our daily lives?
Think about government forms. Why do we have to fill out these complex, multi-page PDFs? Why can't we just tell a secure AI what we need to register? Why do we have to know the difference between Form 1040 and Form 1040 Easy?
Oh man, think about tax filings, that whole industry.
Exactly. Just say, here are my digital documents, figure out what I owe and file it.
Think about the DMV.
Oh, the DMV. The ultimate bureaucratic fossil. The place where all hope goes to wait in a plastic chair.
Any system where you have to learn their specific language and their convoluted process just to get a simple result. All of that is completely vulnerable now. Conversational intelligence can sit on top of any complex legacy system and simplify it for the end user.
We are moving from an age of interface navigation where being tech-savvy meant knowing how to click the right buttons and navigate nested menus to an age of intent fulfillment. You state the intent, the machine handles the complex interface. You say, I want to drive, and the car drives. You say, I want my internet fixed, and it gets fixed.
So the provocation for today, the thought to leave you with, is this. Look around your life this week. Where else are you effectively pressing 1? Where else are you being forced to act like a computer to get a basic task done? Because if this voice-direct technology does what it promises, those days are strictly numbered.
And that is a future very much worth looking forward to.
I want to live in that world. I want my time back.
Me too.
And on that hopeful note, we will wrap up this deep dive into VoiceDirect AI. It is February 24th, 2026. And the future sounds a lot less like distorted hold music and a lot more like a real conversation. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.